Hello, dear one. It's time to rest now. Let the day fall away, let your shoulders grow heavy, and your breath, a little softer. Let your body melt into the quiet comfort of where you are. Notice the way the pillow cradles your head. Notice the stillness, the safety. You are here now. In this space where only calm lives, where only gentle thoughts are welcome. The outside world can wait. This is your time, for peace, for softness, for dreams. Let's take a slow breath in. And gently, sigh it out. Again, in. And slowly, out. Good. You're doing just right. Now. Our story tonight begins. In a place where warm stone cottages lean against winding abbey walls. Where ivy curls over windowsills, and thyme creeps between the cobbles. It begins. In a hush just before twilight. When the breeze carries a touch of rosemary and earth. And all the world slows to listen. In a village wrapped in hills and thyme, there stands a little cottage. Not too grand, not too small. Its walls are built of pale river stone, rounded and smooth, warmed by centuries of sun. And along the ledges of every window, hang wooden boxes overflowing with green. This is the home of Anselma, the herbalist. She is not a healer of titles or scrolls, but one of whispers and weather scents. Who reads the curl of leaves like a letter, and listens to plants the way others listen to stories. As dusk begins to settle, Anselma lights a beeswax candle. Its golden flicker dances across the dried bundles hanging above her head. Lavender sways gently, sage shivers like feathers, and marjoram rests in soft green clusters. She hums, low and warm, a tune older than her memory. Outside her window, the stone abbey bells toll faintly. Their notes drift like floating lanterns over the thatched rooftops. In this quiet hour, she tends her window garden. There's a tale Anselma remembers from her grandmother. How herbs placed on the windowsill were more than just pretty things. They were guardians. Sentries in green cloaks. It was said that if lavender was laid near where you slept, dreams would come softly, like sheep on velvet hooves. And if a braid of rosemary was tucked above the door, no illness could enter without losing its way. Tonight, she chooses lavender. She snips 3 long sprigs from the drying line. And presses them gently into a small ceramic pot by the open window. A breeze slips through, and the air fills with its perfume. Clean, gentle, like old linen left in sun. Sleep well, she whispers to the room. To me, and to the stars. The cottage is a world unto itself. Each shelf is a universe of jars. One of chamomile blossoms, another of crushed mint, another of something called queen's breath. Which is neither royal nor breath, but a flower that only blooms when the moon is waning. There's a mortar by the hearth. And a book of pressed petals, worn soft by fingers and years. Outside, the village murmurs good night. The blacksmith's fire dims to embers. The baker has swept her steps. And even the cows have settled, with soft snorts and the clink of wooden yokes. But in Anselma's garden window, the story is only beginning. Each window box is a careful mosaic. Lemon balm, for gentle thoughts. Sage, for protection. Fennel fronds, to soothe the breath and belly alike. She does not plant them only for medicine, but for memory. Some herbs came from far travelers, traded for a poultice or a bundle of dried nettle. Others grew wild behind the abbey stones, seeded by birds and tended by thyme. Her fingers trail through the soft soil as she speaks to each one. Not with words, but with touch. Like brushing the fur of a beloved animal, or placing a hand on someone's shoulder just so. They say in the old tongue, plants grow better when they're spoken to. And that's a truth Anselma never questioned. There's a chair beside the hearth, padded with worn cushions and a faded woolen throw. She sinks into it now, cupping a mug of warm valerian tea. The steam fogs the edges of her vision. And outside, the stars begin to pierce the blue. Not all at once, but one at a time. Like lanterns being hung by unseen hands. In the window garden, the lavender nods gently. The marjoram shifts. The sage seems to sigh. Anselma sips, and remembers how her mother used to sing while planting chamomile. How the old abbess once traded her a silver pin for a root that cured nighttime restlessness. How once, long ago, someone left a tiny sprig of thyme on her windowsill, and never claimed it. She let it grow. She lets many things grow. Soft sounds fill the cottage. The creak of beams settling. The hush of wind at the shutters. The clink of cooling iron against clay. These are lullabies in the language of stone and wood and time. And in their comfort, Anselma closes her eyes. She is not old. She is not young. She simply is. And in this moment, as her tea warms her hands and the herbs keep their quiet watch, the world outside seems to vanish entirely. Leaving only this. A little stone cottage. A whispering window garden. And a woman who listens to leaves. Candle. The candle's flame has shrunk to a soft flicker. Its golden light now barely more than a sigh against the wall. The shadows it casts are long and loose. As if even they have grown tired, stretching before they too lie down to sleep. Anselma remains in her chair, eyes closed now. The woolen throw draped around her shoulders like an embrace. The tea in her mug is only warm at the bottom. But the taste of valerian still lingers on her tongue. A gentle bitterness that soothes more than it stirs. Outside the cottage, the village has vanished into dream. The hearth fires are low. The wells silent. The windows shuttered. Even the owls, those guardians of the dark, have stilled their wings. Only the breeze speaks now. And it speaks in a hush. Threading gently through thyme and bay. Through feathered rosemary and silvered mugwort. In her half-sleep, Anselma dreams. Not wildly. But in quiet little scenes that feel more remembered than imagined. She is a child again. Bare feet in dew-wet grass. Chasing moths beneath the moon while the elder herbs tower above her. She feels the stickiness of yarrow between her fingers. Smells the sweet sting of bruised mint on her palms. And then she is older. Learning to dry nettles without losing their sting. Learning the old words whispered over hyssop bundles. Learning that some plants bloom only when sung to. Not loudly, but under one's breath, just loud enough for the roots to hear. These are not just dreams. They are rememberings. Carried in the hands, in the muscle of the memory. In the way her fingertips still twitch ever so slightly. As if grinding petals between thumb and palm. Then, a sound. Soft, real. A tap-tap at the window. Barely there. Like the lightest knock of a twig. Anselma does not startle. She simply opens one eye, then the other. And turns her head toward the sound. At the sill, a small figure stands. No taller than a loaf of bread. Wrapped in a traveling cloak of wool. Dusted with moss. And glowing faintly with the greenish hue of the herbs themselves. A garden sprite. Or perhaps a figment of sleep. But Anselma has seen it before. Not often, only when the night is especially still. The sprite says nothing. But it points. To the sage. Then to the thyme. And finally, to Anselma. Its meaning is simple. The dream is not yet finished. She rises slowly, her joints creaking in the cozy hush. Her hands move as if guided, not by thought. But by some rhythm that lives deeper than memory. She takes a small cloth satchel from a hook beside the door. Inside, she places 3 things. A sprig of sage for clarity. A pinch of dried thyme for courage. And a single petal from the last rose of autumn. Found by the abbey wall. Pressed carefully between parchment weeks ago. The sprite watches with solemn, mossy eyes. Then it turns, disappearing down the ivy-covered side of the cottage like fog in a forest. Anselma doesn't follow. She doesn't need to. The message is always the same. Someone needs rest, deeper than sleep. She returns to her chair, bundle in hand. And cradles it as one might hold a kitten or a memory. Then, with a long breath out, she lets herself fall into dream once more. Not into darkness, but into a garden. This garden is unlike the window boxes. It is wide, sprawling, eternal. Walled with stone, overgrown with ivy, lit by starlight so silver it almost sings. The air is rich with the scent of hundreds of herbs. Each one blooming, thriving, sighing. This is the memory garden. A place that herbalists once visited in dreams. Guided by sprites or birds. To gather remedies that no longer grew in waking life. Here, lavender grows as tall as trees. Valerian glows with pale blue blossoms. Chamomile creeps along the paths like moonlit lace. And in the center, a well made of green marble. Covered in carvings so old, even time has forgotten their meaning. Anselma steps forward. Her feet bare, the path warm beneath them. She dips her bundle into the well. And it glows faintly. That is all she needs. When she awakens, the satchel will hold just enough essence. A dream within a dream. To be tucked beneath the pillow of whoever the sprite has chosen. The candle has now burned down to its last curve of wax. The shadows on the wall have stilled. Bramble the cat sleeps with his paw over his face. And Anselma smiles. Tomorrow, she will place this bundle beneath a hedgerow. By dusk, someone will find it. Someone who needs it. Someone whose sleep has grown tangled or thin. And when they do, they will rest. Because even when the world forgets, the window garden remembers. It always remembers. Soft night breeze strokes your skin. As Anselma's dream-footed steps carry her past midnight blooms. The memory garden glows under a sky strewn with starlight. And every petal seems to shimmer with quiet purpose. Ahead, she spies a circle of moonwort. A fern-like herb once used by medieval seafarers to protect them from shipwreck. Its silvery fronds whisper like seashells. Echoes of distant tides. Anselma kneels, brushing the dew from each leaf. And murmurs words older than ships themselves. Guide dreams, chart safe passage. A single frond rises. As if nodding in consent. And folds into her satchel of dream threads. Beyond moonwort lies sweet woodruff. Its tiny white stars perched upon slender stems. It was once strewn across abbey floors for holy feast days. Their scent woven into hymns and processions. She gathers a pinch. Enough to scent a cottage for a fortnight. And sniffs the soft sweetness. Like dew-laced sugar on morning grass. In the distance, a rose arch glows. The last bloom of the season, crystalline with night. Its petals hold both warmth and frost. The fleeting cusp between one world and the next. Anselma plucks one carefully. Tracing the curve of the petal with a feather-light fingertip. Its color is a pale hush. Not fully pink, not fully white. But the silent moment between a lull and a sigh. Farther still, the path widens into a clearing. And there, standing as sentinel, is a lone yew tree. Ancient and somber. Its needles dark as midnight velvet. In medieval times, yew groves were holy places. Churchyards where the living and dead met in hush. Every soft footstep here felt like a prayer. Anselma places her hand upon the bark. Cool, smooth, and alive with memory. She listens. And hears the faintest rush of voices. A choir of herbalists passed. Singing a chant of gratitude. For every healing breath and sleeping mind. She bows her head. Gathers a single berry. That odd, red jewel that holds both life and quiet warning. In careful measure, she places it into her dream sachet. Knowing its essence will bring gentle caution into slumbering thoughts. So nightmares lose their power, and courage grows. The last stop in the memory garden is a small spring, whose water glimmers like quicksilver under moonbeams. Legend held that any herb washed here gained doubled potency. Its spirit renewed by the living water. Anselma dips her hands into the spring, feeling its cold clarity slip through her fingers. Then she splashes a few droplets onto the sachet, to bind the herbs with the promise of renewal and pure rest. A soft chorus of nighttime creatures rises. Crickets in soft rhythm. An owl's distant hoot. The sigh of the wind through needles. It all blends into a lullaby. Nature's own song. Sung in the key of hush. When she opens her eyes again, the memory garden fades like mist at dawn. She finds herself once more in the little stone cottage. The candle is fully spent. Its wick curled into rest. Bramble stretches and yawns, as if waking from a dream. Anselma sits in the chair. The dream sachet cradled gently in her lap. By the window, the fresh bundles of herbs nod in welcome. Their scent light and clear. She rises, stepping toward her worktable, and inscribes a small wooden tag. For safe passage through sleep. She ties it to the sachet, and with careful fingers hangs it inside the window box, where lavender and sage wait. Outside, the stillness of night deepens. The abbey bells will toll at midnight, and then again at cockcrow. But for now, there is only hush, and the soft promise of rest. Anselma moves to the door and opens it. Just enough to slip outside. The moon is a pale lantern overhead. The stars a silent congregation. She places the sachet beneath an arch of lavender, whispering once more, "May your dreams be safe, and your morning gentle." Then she retreats inside, closing the door against the cool air, and leans her head against the wood for a moment. A final breath of night. Back beside the hearth, she kneels and listens. To the comforting crackle of the dying embers. To the soft rumble of brambles purr. To her own heartbeat, steady, slow, sure. In the quiet of her cottage, she gives thanks. Not for grand miracles, but for simple things. A garden that holds memory. A cottage that cradles peace. A night that always turns to dawn. And now, dear listener, as you lie wrapped in your own blankets, imagine lavender-scented breezes drifting past your window. Imagine tiny sachets of dream herbs tucked beneath pillows. Imagine the memory garden, where every leaf, flower, and drop of water waits to guide you gently through sleep. Let your breathing match the lull of crickets and wind. Let your mind roam the hush of stone paths and moonlit leaves. Let your body soften, and know that rest is coming. The world is very quiet now. Even the breeze has hushed itself, folded into the soft blankets of the dark. And within the cottage, time seems to move slower, as if the night is reluctant to end. Anselma sits once more by the hearth, watching the embers glow like tiny suns. Her breathing matches the flicker. In and out, soft and slow. She does not speak aloud. She no longer needs to. The walls, the herbs, the fire, they know her rhythm. Above her, the bundles of lavender rustle faintly, as if offering their own sigh of contentment. The windowsill glows silver from starlight. And Bramble, curled in a perfect little spiral, sleeps with his nose tucked beneath his tail. Everything is where it belongs. She thinks of her neighbors now. The baker's daughter. The miller's son. The quiet man who reads poetry to his chickens. Each of them, she hopes, has found the sachet left at their door, or beneath the hedge, or nestled in a windowsill's shadow. She imagines them already drifting. Eyes closed. Bodies relaxed. Breaths slow. Dreams filled not with noise or weight or worry, but with gardens blooming in darkness. With candles that never burn out. With meadows where each blade of grass hums a lullaby. With peace. Because that is what her work is, really. Not just herbs and drying racks and boiling pots. But peace. Harvested in the daylight. And given freely in the dark. Her grandmother used to say, there are two kinds of magic in the world. The loud, bright kind that dances with fire. And the soft, slow kind that grows in silence. Anselma has always preferred the second. The quiet magic. The kind you barely notice, until suddenly, you feel it. Like sleep coming in, gentle as dusk. Or calm settling over the chest like a warm shawl. That's the magic she believes in. The kind that lives in windowsills. In bundled herbs. In whispered wishes before bed. The fire has dimmed now. Burned down to its final glow. And Anselma feels her own body growing heavier. Not in weariness. But in that perfect fullness that comes just before sleep. She rises. Moves slowly to her bed tucked in the alcove. The mattress is stuffed with wool and lavender. The quilt is old and patched. But every square stitched by someone who loved her. She lays down. The pillow cradling her head. The blanket hugging her shoulders. And for just a moment, she listens. To the creak of wood. The hum of herbs. The rhythm of her own heart. She is not alone. The whole cottage breathes with her. The garden outside keeps its quiet vigil. And the moonlight strokes her cheek like a blessing. Tonight, she dreams again. Of the memory garden. But this time she does not walk it alone. She sees you there. Yes, you. Moving gently among the flowers. Your fingertips trailing over mint and balm and violet. You do not speak. But she sees it in your eyes. You understand now. You feel the hush. The stillness. The deep, living calm. You are safe here. This garden will remember you. Always. And now, dear listener. As you lie still in your own quiet space. Perhaps with your eyes already closed. Perhaps halfway between waking and sleep. Let your mind rest in Anselma's cottage. Let the stone walls hold you. Let the scent of lavender wrap around you like smoke from an evening fire. Let the soft tap of ceramic on wood. The gentle brush of rosemary on a windowpane. The hush of nighttime wind. Carry you. You don't need to try to sleep. Just let go. Let go of the day. Let go of the world. Let go of everything but now. Now, where only peace lives. The candle is out. The window garden rests. The herbalist sleeps. And so may you. Candle. Good night. You are safe. You are held. You are home.